What's up, guys? Brian Ellwood here. Welcome back to the Virtual Real Estate Investing Podcast. I hope everybody's doing amazing today. I am. I'm really excited. I've got a very special guest, a guy who's really impressed me, and I'm really excited to interview a guy named Danny Johnson. Danny Johnson is a wholesaler, a fix and flipper out of San Antonio. He's also built a successful business educating other people how to do this, and he's built a couple of different software programs to really help investors achieve freedom in their life. So it's awesome, Danny. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for being on.
Yeah. No, I didn't want to miss it and looking forward to it.
Awesome. So I gave a little bit about your bio there, but why don't you sort of fill the listeners in on a little bit about your story?
Okay. Yeah, I can start from the beginning when we first got interested in real estate investing, which was, what was that, like 15 years ago now, maybe 16, I guess. And I was a software developer working for a defense contractor here in San Antonio. And I worked in what's called a SCIF. So it was basically like a vault. You know, you have to have swipe cards and you can't have your cell phone and all this kind of stuff and this fake light. And the people I worked with in the SCIF doing software development listened to the Proclaimers. I think it's the Proclaimers, the I Would Walk 5,000 Miles song on loop for days on end. And I just lost my mind.
Why did they do that?
I don't know. We were just like zoned into their work and weren't paying attention, but it was slowly killing me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was some sort of torture. I don't know why I never said anything though. But anyway, maybe it's because I was meant to get frustrated enough to not want to do that anymore. But while I was doing that, my father started flipping houses, and he was a contractor when I was growing up for a house flipper here in San Antonio for a real estate investor. And so I remember as a kid going to help him do demos, and so I learned a little bit about that while doing that. But while I was right after college and I was working that job doing software development, my dad was just having so much fun flipping houses, and just like his life changed, like his whole attitude about everything. He was so super excited about every single day and just talking about doing this deal and doing that deal. And, I kind of caught the bug. I was like, man, I want to do that too. I want to be out and about during the day instead of locked in this room where I can't even see outside, and be able to do this stuff. So my wife and I started doing it part-time. We started lunch breaks and evenings, doing whatever we could, started with postcards and stuff like that. And we get a rehab, and then we'd have to go during lunch to check on it and have to be back before that hour was up. So it was just a crazy rush.
Mm-hmm.
But it never felt like it was work or any kind of hassle, right? Because it was so exciting, like the possibilities, of what, if we got more deals, the sky was the limit, right? We could do whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
And you would think it would take off pretty quick, and maybe after a year you're doing it full time and you just wouldn't need the job anymore. But I had a real hard time letting go of the job, the security of knowing that job was there, and, kind of doubting whether I'd be able to consistently do those deals. And it actually took me being let go from my job. And my wife worked with me at the time, and my manager came to her and told her, and she told me, and, saying that he was going to be working to keep me there, but they were likely to let me go. And my response wasn't what they thought it was going to be, but it was like, yes, this is what I needed. I needed you guys to boot me out of here so I could do this. I mean,
yeah.
And it was weird going full time, because part-time I was forced to focus on those 20% of things that produce 80% of the results. So when I had all that extra time, I didn't even know what to do with myself. It was really weird. And so if anybody out there is listening and they're trying to get into this business part-time because they have a full-time job, don't look at that as a negative, because it's really a huge positive. I mean, you've got some security and you're figuring out what you need to do because of your limited time to make things happen. And this should help you, keep you from spending time designing your business cards or spending 2 weeks trying to tweak a website. I mean, you should be focused on getting that phone to ring, right? Taking those first steps to get things happening. And that's what it did. And so when I went full time, it was kind of a struggle to feel like I was really getting enough done. I felt like I had to fill the time, and it was even kind of a struggle. But fast forward, we we made that consistent, and growth in the business, and bought some properties that we sold on owner financing. So we have some notes, some rental properties, and doing a lot of rehabs. And over the last probably 4 years or so, we've been doing a lot of wholesales, just because that's what the market, where the money's at in the market.
Mm-hmm.
So many people buying that, if we can get those houses and we can wholesale, and we can make nearly what we'd make going through the whole hassle of rehab to do that. So that's what we've been up to. And, over the last several years, we've also built this other company that started with, I don't know if I'm going, like, if you just want me to keep going?
Keep going.
Okay. So we, back in 2010, and I actually really love telling this story because this is really what excites me nowadays. But back in 2010, we took a trip to the West Coast, and this is what part of the house flipping and everything had done for us. We were able to take a 3-week trip going from San Diego all the way up to Seattle.
Nice.
And part of that trip was stopping in McMinnville, Oregon, where they had the Spruce Goose, where Howard Hughes's big flying wooden airplane from World War II is. And we went there, and I told my wife, I said, I want to take flying lessons when I get back. It's something I've wanted to do for a while, and I'm going to do that. So we got back from that trip. I immediately went and signed up for these flying lessons, right? So I could fly a small plane, because I've had this kind of bug for that. And so I went and did that. And what happened was I spent all my time, I was just so into it that I would spend all my time studying how to fly, and all the classes I had to take and all the things I had to learn, and tests I had to pass and all that kind of stuff. And the marketing that we were doing was still producing deals in our business. And at the time, it's still my wife and I pretty much running everything. We had contractors doing work and a realtor to help sell properties, but we were still doing everything ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't doing much, right? I was going on some appointments, but my marketing, I wasn't really doing much marketing. It was just because the marketing we had found, basically the experience that we were getting from our marketing, the leads that were coming in were a result of what we did 3 months prior. And we found that to kind of be true all the time. Like, you can do some stuff. And a lot of times what you're experiencing now is because of the things that you did before. So that 3 months of going hardcore into flight training was sustainable because I still was getting leads from all the stuff I was doing before, the marketing. Mm-hmm. But that dried up because then the 3 months came up where I wasn't doing anything, and that
right.
dried up. So I kind of felt like I was starting over again. Like, I had to start my marketing all up again. I have to get back excited about getting more of these deals and not play like I'm already retired.
Right.
And I was having trouble doing that, honestly. I was having a little bit of trouble getting started with that. And I had been talking with a buddy that wanted to get into it. It was one of our contractors. And we were having these goal setting meetings. And I was trying to think, well, how can I help him? But not just help him, but help everybody else that's trying to do this too. And I had this idea that I would document getting back into it and building my business back up to 30 plus deals a year, flipping. Mm-hmm. And so for 34 weeks, I documented every single thing of marketing that I did, the calls that came in, what the situation was, analysis of the deal, if I said yes or no to go see it, pretty much the whole thing.
Wow.
Right? It wasn't just like the houses I was doing or, how to get some leads. It was just what I was doing every single day. And that became a book called Flipping Houses Exposed. And those were all from blog posts on my blog, flippingjunkie.com. But that really opened a lot of people's eyes to the reality of the business, which is, and you've probably heard it before. I'm sure you've said it before on your podcast about it being a numbers game, right? Mm-hmm. Like, people were seeing that I was having to, because I generated, I think 34 weeks, I generated something like 495 or something leads.
Okay.
That produced I don't know what it was, like 14 deals or something that I ended up doing. Mm-hmm. And I don't think a lot of people understood before seeing that, of the people that saw those posts or that book or read that book, that's how many leads I was going through to get these deals. Mm-hmm. That's how many calls I was generating. So it wasn't like go out and look at 10 listed properties, not get any of them, and then feel like you can't get a deal, or get the phone to ring 10 times and you're not getting a deal and it's not working or something's wrong.
Right.
It's not the case. Right.
Okay.
And I think that was really big for people to be, and then to be able to see how I would, look at the situation, look at the numbers and know right away, hey, there's no deal possible next. I'm not going to spend any more time on this. I'm not going to waste any time on it next. and make the offers. And it's just a numbers game, and just like going and making those offers and not getting hung up on trying to turn a non-deal into a deal because I'm not getting enough leads in. Right.
So you documented 34 weeks of your career from A to Z.
Right. Every single day.
Every single thing, not just here's the deal I did, but exactly, the leads I looked at that I excluded, and then I went on this appointment and why I went on this appointment.
Right.
You put all that in your book.
Right. And it was the marketing I was doing each week. So it's like here I am, I'm starting out. I know I can do some bandit signs, right? I'm going to put those out. And disclaimer, those are illegal in a lot of places. Check out, you might need a permit. The bandit signs had yellow page ad. I showed that and all that kind of stuff. But just showing the people too what I was doing on a week-by-week basis, doing some probate leads, just doing these different things, trying to see what's going to bring in the results. And, a lot of it ended up coming from my website. That I had at the time. And that's still where the majority of our leads are coming from today, is generated from the website. And obviously having that computer science background, I was real into a lot of the, website stuff and technology stuff.
Okay. How does that website work? That was one question I wanted to ask you is, how are you getting deals? It's 2019, certain marketing channels are getting less effective. What do you think is the best way to get deals right now?
Yeah. So I love websites, ranking websites organically using search engine optimization. Done properly, that can sustain, you can get to the top and stay at the top. A lot of people feel like they've heard of that and they go and search, like We Buy Houses or Sell House Fast in their market, and they see all the websites and they think, oh, it's already been done. I can't do it. Look at all these.
Right.
They look at it like a corner with a bunch of bandit signs all over it, and they can't add their bandit sign because how are they going to stand out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, like, you searched one or two keywords, when you saw all those results, and really that's the beauty of search engine, work, is that's the tip of the iceberg. My website ranks for, I think, over 5,000 different keywords right now. And it's when you start looking at that bigger group of keywords that you can rank for, all those other sites aren't ranking for those, and so you can get to where you're actually getting, a lot more traffic than you think you could, because there's competition, because what you're looking at competition is competition for those keywords, which can be over time, but those aren't the ones that you want to work at ranking all your energy with right away, because there's so much competition for them. And you shouldn't be doing that work yourself anyway, because that's, as a business owner, you need to work on deals, but finding a company that will do that SEO for you, and has a track record and stuff like that can be very beneficial. We do that at Lead Propeller, but there's other people that provide that as well.
Okay. So you paid other companies to constantly improve your SEO of your website over how long did it take before it went from being nothing to top ranking website?
Yeah. When I started, it took, I think it was something like six to 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
It took, but that was years ago. And we've had some times where we've dropped and we've had to go back up, and it's taken, a couple months, because things do change and fluctuate. The algorithms change and all that kind of stuff happens. But typically it's what we're seeing with customers from Lead Propeller, because we do the SEO for us and for them. If they want to pay for the SEO as an extra thing. What we're seeing is typically about 12 months in most markets, 12 months to get up to the first page and then make your way up to the top. Because the thing is, here's another tip too for people that have tried this before. Maybe they've tried this and they've had a little bit of success, but then gave up because they didn't feel like it was working. If you get your website ranked onto the first page, but you're still kind of below the fold, you're having to where you scroll, you're at the bottom, like maybe 9 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get a whole lot of traffic from that keyword search at that bottom part, because what do you do when you search on Google? You typically find what you're looking for right in the first 2 or 3.
Yep.
And so there's been studies done, and it just shows that the vast majority of all the clicks are from those top 3 spots. So if you got there and you got to like number 7 even, and you're saying, oh, I'm not getting anything, so something's wrong, something's not working, I need to change my website, I need to do this or that, or you just give up thinking that your market, maybe people aren't searching for that keyword or for those keywords that much. But that's really, just a a false belief, because if you get up to the spots, you're stopping inches from gold, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're the one that dug with that
I remember that analogy. Yeah.
And, you know, you just like missed it. You just barely missed it. You were so close, but you gave up. And I think that happens to a lot of people. You know, they just don't put the time in, and knowing that it could take roughly 12 months of some serious SEO work to do it. But here's how I look at it. It's the investment of it. If you're paying a company $1,000 a month and you do that for 12 months, but you get to where you're starting to get some leads and deals after that year, you know, you spent $12,000, but you've got something, you know, that if you keep doing it, you don't have to keep going every month after that. You can, you know, do it where you go for 3 months and then stop a couple months, do another 3 months of work. But you can, you know, you'll be generating those leads and deals, and you've already made it to where that's going to pay off tremendously. Because if you're spending, you know, on money like $5,000 or $10,000 on a direct mail campaign in 1 month, I mean, it's just understanding what it's going to cost you to get there, and knowing that that's the investment you're going to make to do it, and you're committing to that channel. That's when it works best. The people that try to go in and find SEO for $300 a month or $200 a month and expect to get consistent leads and deals and be ranking and using their website, they're just going to be disappointed. You know, it's understanding what it takes from the get-go so that you can make it. And I actually love that it's like that, because what that does is it eliminates most of the competition, because most people do try, doesn't work, they give up.
Right. That's true.
And so it's nice, because then you are limiting a lot of what you think is competition. It's really not.
What's appealing to me about that is that, you know, we run primarily direct mail over our career, and, you know, you get this, it's like a flash in the pan, you get all these calls, and then most people throw those postcards away, right? They don't like pin it to their wall. It's like a piece of artwork so they could always see it.
You ask them to.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I should try. But with the, you know, anything that's on the internet, whether it be a podcast you have or a series of YouTube videos or a website that's SEO optimized, like it's marketing that you own, I guess, is the best way I can think to put it. It's like real estate that you own online that's always going to serve you. So I love that distinction. I want to go back to something you said earlier on in this interview. It was really of interest to me about how whenever you were working, you only had, you know, 20% of your time to put towards real estate. So you had to really focus on the 80-20 rule. What's the 20% that's going to give me the 80%? You kind of mentioned when you got full time, it was a bit overwhelming. How do I fill the rest of this time up with impactful things and not check my email 17 times a day, right? So, you know, in your experience, having been full time for a long time now, like, what is the 20%? Like, what are the core handful of activities that people need to be focusing on if they want results as a real estate investor?
Yeah, interestingly enough, we did it for so many years, and I think if you would have asked me that 5 years ago, my answer would be a lot different than what it is today, because what we've grown into is understanding that it is a real business, and if we really want the freedom that we set out to get in getting into this business, we've got to not do everything ourselves. You know, and what we've done lately is build up that team to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, to understand that I can't be the best acquisition person if I'm doing everything else. You know, it got to a point where I was, you know, frustrated when I got a call because it was interrupting me from all the stuff I wanted to do.
Right.
And that's not a good place. It's not a place you want to be in your business.
Right.
But, you know, understanding that eventually down the line, that's what you want to work towards. And so it's sort of like systematizing your business and always thinking in terms of that, even if you're just starting out and you're smaller, having that always in mind as where you want to be going, because as you're figuring it out, you need to be documenting those processes that you're creating to do this work yourself, and then tweaking those, because I'll tell you, you're going to learn something and then you're going to go and do some things and not have to use what you learned in that one situation again for another couple of years. Mm-hmm. But it's going to come up again. You're not going to remember, and you're going to have to figure out again, okay, what was the optimal solution then? And it's having all of this documented, you know, so that when you do bring somebody on, you have the training, you have all of it already there with all your experience that you've even improved over time as you looked over it and made tweaks. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the very smart thing to do as you're building this business. But as far as finding those things that make sense, as far as the 20% that are going to give you those results, is thinking through what produces the profit for you. Because that's what, at the end of the day, kind of makes the difference, right? You can't stay in this business long if you're not making profit. So what are those things going to do? To do that. If I'm not getting enough leads, I'm not going on enough appointments, I'm not making enough offers, it all starts with that marketing, right? It starts with getting consistent at getting those deals. If you're not getting those leads, you can't get the deals. So always in the beginning, I think 20% of the time ought to be focused on that marketing. Finding ways, if you don't have the money, put the time in them. Do the things that other people aren't willing to do, door knocking, putting up flyers at laundromats. I remember doing that. Going to local pizza joints and saying, hey, if I print out a bunch of flyers and I put my We Buy Houses thing on the top of each flyer, would you be okay with putting that on all the pizza boxes? And they said yes. Yeah, I've had that happen. It didn't work out because I was close to downtown, and downtown San Antonio at the time was mostly tourists. So they would order the pizza and I'd just get nothing but prank calls in the middle of the night. So that didn't.
I love that initiative though. That's genius.
But that's the thing, right? Like think through. So there is like a lot of people doing, absentee owner mailing. So find something else, do something else and go and hit the streets and do stuff and put stuff where other people aren't putting stuff up. Stuff that gets hung up in a laundromat stays there for a real long time sometimes. Even at grocery stores, a lot of them will have like a bulletin board that you can tack something onto. And just finding ways to get that message out that other people maybe aren't doing, or maybe doing the skip tracing work on the driving for dollars properties that you find. Spend the money or find a way to get those phone numbers, call the people, go by the house, knock on the door, knock on the neighbor's door, ask them if they know the whereabouts of the owner of the house, and just do that legwork. But so it begins with that. Once you have that going, 20% I think moves a little bit because you got that going a little bit. And then it becomes, okay, well, how can I make sure that every lead I get, I have a higher likelihood of making a deal out of that? It's not just a matter of, okay, I'm going to take the call, get the information, set the appointment. It's how am I taking that call? Right? What am I doing? What am I saying? What's this rapport that I'm building with the seller so that they're looking forward to me coming to their house and not feeling like I've got this high-powered sort of business person that's coming to my house that's going to make me feel small and stupid. Instead it's like somebody that they like, oh, I feel like this is a nice person, and they really listened to me on the phone, and it wasn't just how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how much do you want for it? They took the time to ask me how I was doing, or, and a little bit more about them, and not just trying to get off the phone. And doing those things that a lot of other investors aren't doing. I mean, try it out. Like call somebody, that does marketing in your town and just say you have a house to sell and see how they handle it, and call a couple and see how that works. And I'm sure you're going to find that there's not a lot of people spending real quality time on the phone, if they're even answering the phone when you call.
That's a great tip, man. Because even me being experienced, I look at certain things and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to, do this or that marketing technique. A bunch of other people are already doing it or whatever. And there's just sort of like you kind of defeat yourself before you even start in a lot of ways. Or I don't want to get into the market right now. All the deals are overpriced. It's too competitive. You can't find deals. And me as a coach and an educator, the main challenge I actually face when trying to help someone get freedom in their life through real estate is not teaching them the how-to. Here's how you analyze a house. Here's how you find a deal. Here's how you find the money. It's more getting them over the hump of being willing to take the risk in the first place and getting past their fears. And so I'd like to ask you, what would you say to all those people? This is the primary thing that is holding most people back. Do you have a technique, a mindset thing, a book, or just any words of wisdom that you can kind of just help people get over that hump and just do a deal,
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And that is really, it is the mindset. It's the not having the faith that it could actually happen for them. And, one thing that really helped us, obviously my father was doing it, so I saw him doing it, so I had no doubts that it would work.
Yeah.
Although it took 6 months or more, I think it was maybe even 9 months before that first deal. And so I did get disheartened thinking maybe it won't work for me, but it'll work for him. He's buying in a different, smaller town outside of San Antonio, and maybe it doesn't work. So I had those doubts too. And, but if you if you are doing the legwork and you can find somebody in town that could mentor you, and finding a mentor is a whole nother podcast. But the whole thing is, if you're doing the legwork and you're getting leads in, and then you're going to somebody experienced and asking them to help you do those deals, or even walk you through how they're going to buy that deal that you give to them from that lead, they're going to talk to you, right? And you're going to find someone willing to work with you. If you just go up to them with nothing and say, walk me through how you do everything, why would they spend the time to do that? So get past the fear, put some work into getting those leads, and be talking to people at RIAs or other places, and know who those people are that are doing the deals that you feel like once you talk to them, that you liked them, right? You felt good around them, and that you'd be willing to trust them and giving them some leads that they would walk you through how they would do that deal. And then you got somebody that's like, oh man, how can I help you more? Because you're going to bring me some more leads and stuff. And you have this relationship that can turn and blossom into a bigger thing. But then you've got that safety net. So anything that comes up, you can ask them whatever you need, and they're likely going to help you. As far as mindset and having faith that it's going to work out, is just having faith, right? I mean, there's nothing you can do other than trust that it's going to work out, and you've got nothing to lose, right? So if you might have some money to lose and time to lose, but knowing that enough people, Brian, you're telling them how you're doing these deals, people on your podcast, everybody's doing these deals. It works. It does.
Right.
And it works everywhere, right? So knowing that it works shouldn't be a question, right? It's knowing that it's going to work for you is what I guess people are struggling with.
Yep.
And what I want to relate here is there's been times in our business, mostly when I wasn't involved, where I was still involved in doing all the marketing and doing the acquisitions and doing all the work in that part of it, where we would have these slumps. I'd be doing the same marketing. I'd be going to the same appointments. I wasn't getting the deals. Or maybe I wasn't getting as many appointments even, but I just wasn't getting the deals. Like we just would have like 2 months, no deals. Another month would be like 5, 10 deals. It's like, what happened? Like something's changed. And it's weird because your mind can start playing tricks on you, and you start thinking something's changed. And if you're thinking something's changed, that's what you're going to get more of. And it's just a weird fact of life, right? It's one of those things. It's a mindset thing. And I remember I had a couple times where I'd go like 3 months and I'd have a conversation with a buddy, and they say something about like, well, it's not changed for me. I'm still getting all the deals. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Like, oh, I didn't even realize I've gotten into this where I'm thinking, I'm not getting deals. I'm not getting deals.
Yeah.
And as soon as you let go of that, it's so weird. As soon as you let go of that thinking and think, okay, I'm going to get a deal this week, and you just believe it.
Yeah.
Things start happening again. It's just, it's crazy. I
really love that tip on just how, what you're focusing on is your life. Some people think the law of attraction is a bunch of BS, and maybe you can't just sit around and dream that money's going to land in your mailbox.
Right.
But it does seem to shift things in some way, either towards you or away from you. And it really, I think, just has to do with the way that you're wiring your own brain. Are you defeating yourself up front, or is your mind open to possibilities?
Exactly.
And I also really like your tip about, look, a mentor is going to be your safest way to avoid risk and make good decisions. But so many people get into this and they think, all right, I gotta get that guy to help me. I'm gonna ask him all my questions. And you kind of framed it differently. Like, okay, how could you help that person out? How could you add value to them first instead of thinking about what you want them to give you? Because every relationship is ultimately an exchange of value. Mm-hmm. So you go out and find a deal and literally be willing to give a good deal over to a seasoned investor in your market. You can have this deal. Just teach me how you do it. And then maybe when the next one comes that I'm going to buy, give me a little advice on that too. I mean, totally worth it.
Which is scary because you're like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever find another deal. But then you realize that you're in a bad mindset. You're in a lack mindset instead of and you can maybe work that deal with them so you still profit from it if they do it, and maybe it's just like a 1090 thing or something that entices them still. But
there you go.
But yeah, I love the way you phrase that as far as the giving instead of looking to receive. I had read something that really struck a chord with me because I'm introverted. I'm pretty highly introverted and mostly shy for the most part. And I had read something about how things in your life will change when you look at what you can give instead of what you can receive. And it's this, and the whole thing was a paragraph about an example of if you're going to a party where you don't know anybody, and if you're walking in and you're thinking, what can I do to get people to want to talk to me? Or I hope that I don't end up alone, or what can I do so I'm not just standing there by myself like a weirdo? If you switch that thinking to walking in saying, what can I give here? I can give my smile. I can give, my good sense of humor, and I can give my interest in other people, then everything changes. It's completely different. And I think that happens. Like it's just everything in life. But
this is not apples to apples, but I heard something one time that stuck with me. It was like when you walk into a room, you walk into a party or something, instead of thinking, here I am, everyone, here I am, think, there you are.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's not about you. It's about those other people. Kind of applies to, I love it. And it's interesting. I've had a lot of guests on this podcast recently, and this concept of adding more value than you expect to get back has come up. Like this is like the third or fourth time I've interviewed someone, and they're just like, Brian, the secret is adding value.
Yeah.
If you want to make $10,000, go add $100,000 worth of value to someone. You're at least going to get 10% back of what you added. But if you want to make $50,000, you might have to add $250,000 worth of value. The amount that you get back is always going to be less than what you have to give, but they work in tandem with each other. So you want more, you add more. You want even more, add even more. And I love that you're echoing the same mantra. We're running a little low on time here. I don't want to end this without you not having told us about your software company. So go into that a little bit and tell us what Flip Pilot is and or Lead Propeller, however you want to break it down. Just tell us what you're doing with software. I'm really interested in that.
Yeah, sure. And I'm not a real salesy guy, so this is always kind of awkward whenever I start to talk about my stuff.
I want a hard sell.
Stuff will change your world. No,
yeah.
It's now basically, from the book, when I was talking about a lot of the leads were coming from the website. So people were contacting me saying, hey, I'd love to do a website. Who did you have make yours? And I didn't really have a good place to tell them to go for it because, I built it specifically for what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had things built into it like a two-step opt-in form where they don't have to have a high commitment. It's not just a giant form they're filling out.
Okay.
They fill out just their contact info, go over to a longer one. And then having automated text and stuff like that so that when somebody submitted it, I wouldn't have to just see the new lead in my email when I bothered to check my email because the key is calling them right away. And so I get these text notifications when a lead is submitted right away so I can call them while they're probably still on my website. And so that was, big keys to success with this. And so I think I was talking to Brendan Turner, Bigger Pockets, because I was developing the CRM software. And I was actually coding it myself. And, we were having a conversation. I think he was saying, how come nobody's got websites for investors? And I was like, ding, 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 I'm going to do that. I could do that real quick. And everybody's been asking about it. Why didn't I think of that? And so, put together Lead Propeller almost 5 years ago now. And just providing those websites so that somebody can get a website, have it set up within minutes without having to build anything or write up all the content. And it's just a good way for credibility and for people to have something to generate leads with.
Awesome.
There. And then Flip Pilot is pretty much like version maybe 8 of the different CRM systems I've built over the years. And I've had a professional team here in this office now. We have 3 suites, but building the software, and it's automation for real estate investing business. And we like to say it's everything in one place. It's not really a CRM. It's more of everything in one place. So we have built in where you get the phone numbers so that you can do campaigns based on phone numbers. And when they call in, that lead came from this campaign. And then you can dial in and out through the software, through the web application, and everything's tracked. So all the email, text, phone communications are all tracked. So when you have this lead, you have all this info at your hands. And
wow,
really the whole idea behind it was having everything into the system so that we could give you insights into your data so that you can look at your business and do those things like we talked about, where I can look at, we got so many calls in this campaign, but only this many actually deals, and then look go in and look at it. Okay, well, what happened with those calls? Do I have a problem with how my calls are being taken? I can listen to those calls and see how they were handled.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have a problem with the appointments being set? How many appointments did I get set out of those calls? And then from those appointments, how many deals do we get? And so I can look at all this stuff in real time and see the numbers. So this campaign got 50 calls. I got 10 appointments, and then I got 1 deal. And so where's the problem there? And I can kind of go and look and see in my business where I might need to be paying more attention and finding out what's happening and where I may be dropping the ball or where I can improve it, instead of always thinking I just need more leads.
Right.
Because I think there gets to be a point where people are just killing themselves trying to get more and more leads, when if they just did better at what they had, with capitalizing on all the leads that are already coming in, it just would be a lot easier for them.
That's awesome, man. That's something I really wish I had when I started out. And just hearing you talk about this makes me excited about where real estate investing is going, because software is helping so many other industries out. And it's about time good software really came to us as well. So if any of our listeners want to go find out more about either of these programs, where would you like them to go?
Sure. You can go to leadpropeller.com, or you can go to flippilot.com. And so Lead Propeller for the websites, Flip Pilot for the software system. And that we're doing beta right now. We got a beta group in there, so the doors are closed, but it'll be opening up. I don't know when you're going to air this episode, but we'll be opening up those doors again in late March to let some more people into that software. So we're making a lot of tweaks and adding a lot of stuff to it. It's super exciting because we've spent so long developing it and getting it to where it's at. But check it out. You can find out some more about it.
Awesome. Well, this has been a super valuable interview. Thank you so much for your time, Danny.
Yeah, no, thank you, Brian. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'll see you next time.
All right, great. Take care.
All right, bye.